Welcome to this latest edition of the Black Hole Podcast. Today, I will be discussing race relations. Year 2000, about 24 years ago. We had about almost 25 years ago now, versus today, 2024. One of the benefits of getting older, you get wiser a little bit. You're able to look back on things. Back then, I was around, I think, high school. Senior, going to adulthood in early 2000s, and the race relations, just how people interacted, was very different. It was on a totally different trajectory than it is on today. Coming from the 90s, let's say this, I was born in the 80s, so going from the start of the 90s to the end of the 90s, there was major, I would say, improvements. The climate was, of course, wasn't perfect, depending on where you're at, but I could say that overall, the trajectory was going in a positive direction, meaning that people were interacting more as people. Race was being less politicized. Even religion, it was being less politicized at that time. People were, the boundaries, the lines, the hard boundaries, meaning they were being lessened, being softened, right? People were just, you were able to sit down, interact with people based on the content of their character, based on the quality of that individual, based on who they are, as opposed to checking boxes where you're in this box, you're in that box, you gotta do this, gotta do that. It's went the other way, and very surprising, because you, in your youth, you think that things will only go one direction, right? Matter of fact, you didn't have to think about it really. You really have to think about race. They didn't come up much, right? Because the people you hung out with, the people you interacted with, that's the only way to do things back then. There was no social media, there was no smartphones. When you're forced to actually be out in the world and interact with people, you behave differently, right? You gotta behave differently. Because if you don't, then every day you have conflict. So people had to figure out how to get along with each other. And people were doing that. People were figuring out how to get along with each other. I remember I was a manager at a restaurant, and after hours, it was me, Vietnamese dude, white dude, black, Hispanic, whatever. People just, sit around and talk after the shift's over. Because people aren't ready to go home yet. Or they might be waiting for someone else to finish up. And you sit around and talk, and I was just thinking about the subjects we were talking about. Nothing was off limits, and we just have conversations about all kind of stuff, right? Having conversations about nowadays that would never happen. Either people would be too closed off to even go down, have a controversial conversation, or they will be, in a way, too guarded, too afraid of saying something wrong, right? And that's changed a lot. It was about being more open, being more individual, doing your own thing. And so I think in that kind of climate, the boundaries, the racial lines, the hard lines, they're not as important, because maybe someone is this or that or that or this, but that's secondary to who they are and how they interact with people. Who they are and how they interact with you, that's secondary. Now, I would put this with the smartphone, the social media, it's enabled people to live in these little echo chambers, live in these little boxes again, worse than ever before. And these are young people I'm noticing with on social media, right? I'm seeing all this Juneteenth just happened, right? All this venom and hate towards Juneteenth. Juneteenth, that's something that's been around for years. It's been around for years. Yes, it wasn't on the federal level, but it's been around. People celebrate it for years. Uh, I think them bringing it to the federal level, all that did basically is now give people something to complain about. Someone else they try to knock black people for, right? Something else. You notice you don't see that with any other group, right? You don't see that with any other groups. Anytime any other groups get representation, people like either they'll cheer for it or like, oh, whatever, they don't care. It doesn't make a splash. But anytime it's assumed black people are getting more representation or getting something, you notice that people got an opinion. They got to come out and say it. Everybody got an opinion about any perceived up, leg up black people are getting, or any perceived benefit black people are getting, even if that doesn't benefit us. I mean, still to this day, we don't control the economic system. We don't control the laws, legal system. We don't control the healthcare system. We don't control immigration. We don't control the legal system, law enforcement. We have no control over no systems, right? So how can African Americans, how can black people be at fault for any of the major woes of America? But but it's like, we're the bad guys. The only thing they can say about us is crime. Yeah, there's a crime problem in the black community. That's all you can say about it. There's a crime problem. Yeah, but yeah, the big threats fest in the United States, that's nothing to do with African Americans. And I think that these people grift, they benefit from so society being in these boxes, whether it's left, right, whatever, but they benefit from it. You have a generation of people that were raised on social media, raised with a smartphone, and they know nothing else. They don't know anything of having to interact with different kind of people and make it work, right? They don't know anything about that. About having to sit down with people, interact with people different from you, and then realizing in the day, oh, you're not so different. I mean, because like I said earlier, me and those guys all working at that restaurant, we had more in common than anything else. We all made about the same amount of money, similar age range, similar place, similar problems. Most time we talk about our woman problems, right? We talk about our woman problems, car problems, job problems, typical stuff. Religion, race, politics, never that came up. But now everything is weaponized. Politics, religion, race, gender, everything's weaponized, as opposed to actually getting to know someone as an individual. That's out of the question. No. Everybody's a box. Check your box. People want to know what box you are in before they interact with you. And these younger generations, they've been raised a lot with that because of this social media, because of the smartphone, because of technology, and because of people grifting. They figured out there's ways to make money off of this lack of social cohesion. As before, where it's a big thing is you wanted social cohesion. You wanted people to get along. You wanted social cohesion. It's a different era where social cohesion, you make more money if people are at their throats. If people are blaming each other for what's going on in America or blaming one group more than everybody else. I see black and Jewish people, they get blamed for that's number one. Immigrants, they're number three, but they're distant. But it's gonna be black, it's gonna be Jewish, depending on who you're talking to, And just looking at a man that's approaching middle age, you seeing that. Yeah, we would have thought that it would have been a lot better. If I'm asking my 20-year-old self, I would have, that guy, my 20-year-old self would assume that, hey, we would have figured this out by now. We'd be on the path to Star Trek. People getting along, humanity reaching for the stars, literally reaching for the stars. We would have figured that out. We would have progressed. We're never going to progress. We're going to stay in the murk, in the mud. That's all I see it. Maybe I'm pessimistic now, but I see us progressing very little as far as relations, race relations being number one, top of that. But everything now is a hot button issue. You know, be unfathomable. Have a group of people, even though below the surface they're more alike than anything else, but because these boxes, because they're a different ethnic group or race or whatever, or gender or whatever, to have them all sit around and be able to just break bread, have conversations like human beings. Yeah, it's now if you're a young person, you might not believe what I'm talking about. You might not believe what I'm talking about, but it's sad because I know a lot of us like, man, what happened, right? What happened to the world? Oh, that's it for this one. I might do a part two of this later on, but that's it for now.